Okay, let's roll right into our race winner for today's 13th annual Kroger 200. And the race winner is Denny Hamlin. He drove the number 18 Toyota Traxxas Toyota for Kyle Busch Motorsports. He's joined up on our front by crew chief Eric Phillips and general manager Rick Wren. This is Denny Hamlin's first win in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race. He becomes the 23rd driver to win in all three of NASCAR's national series. So congratulations on that, Denny. Talk about winning in the truck, your first win in the truck, yet winning at a place at Martinsville that you've won many times in the Cup car.
Yeah, it feels good, and this is a great racetrack for us. No matter, even back in the late model days, this is always a great racetrack for me, and just. I knew this was going to be one of my best opportunities going forward to win a truck race, being teamed up with these guys. And so, Kyle just sent me a text about a month ago, asked if I'd run this. He wanted to concentrate on the Cup car a little bit more during the chase, and he's obviously our last hope for a championship for Joe Gibbs Racing, so I volunteered to do it for him. So hopefully that all pays off for that team tomorrow.
Congratulations, Denny. And crew chief Eric Phillips, talk about today's performance of the number 18 Toyota.
It's been pretty flawless since we unloaded. We didn't change much. Made a little bit of air pressure adjustment there at the beginning of the race after watching Cup practice. Put it back the way we practiced yesterday, and the thing come back to life. Was really good after that. And then the rest was just managing your tires and when to pit. So you had enough tires at the end, and kind of paid off. Got a little nervous there when we restarted, I think, 18th, but Denny did a great job getting back through there and taking care of the truck.
And Rick, talk about might have had a different driver out there today, but the results certainly were familiar for Kyle Busch Motorsports.
Well, yeah, we felt really comfortable with getting the opportunity to have Denny in the truck. Kyle was really excited about it. Like Denny said, he wanted to focus his effort more on the Cup car, and we couldn't think of a better choice than to put Denny in the thing. And it was, after talking to Eric and then talking to Denny last night after practice, I could see a smile on both those guys' faces. So. They felt like they had a really good truck, and that team did a really good job and got that Toyota Tundra out front. And, once Denny got to the front, she was pretty much a story right there, and they did a great job today.
Let's take questions for Denny, Eric, or Rick. We'll start here with Reed, then we'll go to Kenny, and then Jim.
Reed Spencer with Sporting News. Denny, how significant is it to you personally to be one of the 23 guys who's now won in all three series, and given that you've only run, I think, one truck race a year for the last 3 years?
Yeah, it's a big deal for me, more than what people probably think. When they think we go down these different series and, nationwide and truck, and we're just going down there just trying to get wins and stuff. From my standpoint, it's very, very tough, and the truck series is more competitive now than what it's ever been. And so it means a lot to myself to win a truck series race, especially just running one a year usually. And so it's just been one of those weekends where it was like you unload and it's just like, well, it's pretty good. So I felt like we kind of gave these guys an off weekend as far as adjustment stuff. I know that you can have weekends where you unload and you got to work your guts out to get it right. And this is just one of those weekends where just everything worked out great for us.
Let's go Kenny, then we'll go to Jim, and then we'll go up to the press box.
Denny, you've watched the replay there. What were you thinking? What were you hoping to do or going to try to do when those guys restarted? And they were saying that their issue was tires. I mean, was that a situation that you didn't have a problem with that today, or?
Yeah, I mean, our truck just was so good on the long run. That's really where it seemed to excel, and I felt like I did a good job. I didn't abuse my truck very early for the first 5 to 10 laps as soon as I put tires on to try to make sure I had something at the end, and that's what paid off for us the biggest. On the last restart, I just needed them to get single file so I could pick them off. I felt like our truck was so much faster at that point of the race. We had better tires that we just needed them to get single file or figure out who was going to be in front. And obviously we had some transmission over the radio. We knew those guys were racing for points, so I didn't want to put them in a bad spot. So I told them if they just moved right over and let me go, then they could gladly race right behind me, and that's exactly what they did.
Go ahead, Jim.
Jim Otter, Trial Observer. Denny, I heard MRN talk to your dad right at the end of the race, and he
great.
said, and he said two things. One was that he thought this was really important for you, that you needed a really big confidence builder. So could you talk about that? And two, he was a little worried about whether or not you were going to get paid.
Well, the good news is the only thing I wanted for this is a couple RC trucks, and I think that my buddy Rick here is going to take care of that for me. So I've got to run a couple of these Traxxas trucks at some other events, and I fell in love with them, but just not didn't want to come off the hip for it. So this is a great opportunity, and I can use my leverage now to get them. But yeah, it is. It's a huge confidence builder, and I knew that if I could win a race today, it was going to propel me, hopefully into tomorrow, and it does. If I didn't win today, I would have been pretty disappointed because I knew I had a great truck. My record here is really good, and if things didn't work out, I was going to be disappointed. But to win, and then win in the fashion, thinking with 30 laps to go, when wherever we were running, it wasn't looking too good, and we just managed to make our way.
Let's go to the press box for questions. Go ahead.
Damian Sordelet, Danville Register and B. Denny, does this confidence mirror what you did in Richmond in April when you won the late model race, nationwide race, went on to finish second in the Cup, and started getting a little bit of momentum going to where you won at Michigan? Does this you want to use this same momentum like you talked about yesterday to have a good run in the Cup and finish off the season strong?
Yeah, definitely. And for me, it's like I said, that Richmond was a prime example of that late model race where we won and started in the back to do it. Won the following night and finished second in Cup race. But you got to have good machines to do it. You got to have great race cars, and we know that. We know tomorrow that there's a lot of really good race cars in the field tomorrow, and it's going to be tough. But it gives you the confidence you can still win, and it's been a few months for me since I've won in the Cup Series, and so we're due, and it's time to win again.
Other questions in the press box?
Monty Dutton, Gaston Gazette. Denny, based on your remarks on Friday about the importance of the driver at Martinsville and how the driver makes more difference, do you think it's fair to make the leap to saying that driving a truck on Saturday would be more helpful than driving a truck on Saturday before a Cup race at other tracks?
I don't know, because this is really the only race I've run in a truck in a few years. I ran Pocono, but it really didn't relate. But I can tell you that the truck drives more like the Cup car at this particular racetrack because it is a slower speed. The aero is not as big of a difference, so you can't tell really what machine you're in other than the windshield. So you drive them very, very similar in style. So I know it will help me for tomorrow. I feel like I've got an edge up on what the track is versus where we were practicing earlier.
Let's stay with the press box. Go ahead.
Paul Montana with the Martinsville Bulletin. Danny, I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit about the decision to do this race. You said Kyle texted you a month ago, and just tell me a little bit about that dialogue and how much were you kind of jumping at the opportunity to do this race?
A lot. I kind of got jealous a few times. He had Casey Kane and those guys running his truck. I had to race against him one time, and I saw how fast his truck was, and I was jealous. I wanted to get in it, but he picked a good racetrack to put me in, obviously, and you put me in a really good truck at this racetrack, and where our expectations are going to be pretty high, and thankfully it lived up to that, and I know that those guys. In the 18 truck are trying to win a lot of races, trying to win an owner's championship and all that. But all we can do is go out here and do the best we can this weekend. And for me, winning gives me the confidence, and it gives these guys the confidence that hey, they know they're building great race trucks. And I think this is their 8th win this year.
Other questions downstairs? We've got several. It's right over your shoulder there. Mike, Reed, Kenny.
Mike Neff from FrontStretch.com. Denny, you're obviously pretty good at this racetrack. When you knew you were going to get in the truck, how much input did you have in the setup of the truck back at the shop before they ever got it here?
Zero. I basically showed up and said I need my wheel adjusted this way, that way, and got in it and went. And that's the thing is when you have a team as good as these guys, and you can just, you sit in it and everything is just like you would want it. And, that's not going to the shop and getting everything straight and, kind of like they had to do back in the old days and everything. And these guys are so good at it. I look around inside the truck and it's like, wow, this is as nice as my Cup car is. This is good stuff. So it's, it was just a flawless weekend as far as that's concerned. They put the setup in it. I'm guessing they went off what they've had success here in the past with, and we just took off with it.
Go ahead, Reed.
Reed Spencer with Sporting News. Denny, speaking of the Cup car, how much can we read into practice today? The guys that are going to be starting 1 through 5 tomorrow are 24th through 32nd in the on the practice chart today. Is it somebody sandbagging, or is there really a lot more speed in the field behind those 5 guys?
No, I think it's spread out. I think that there's, those few guys I noticed they didn't run real fast laps, quick laps, but they were pretty good on the long run. So I wouldn't be too concerned as far as that's concerned because that's what's going to pay on Sunday. We're going to have points where we're going to run over 100 laps of green flag racing in tomorrow's race, and so it's going to be who's good after 50, 60 laps, and no one really runs that distance during practices. So that's why you can't necessarily read into it. But we all know, looking at Lap Tracker, who's good, who's bad. But a few of those guys that were not good on top speed were good long run cars.
Go ahead, Kenny.
KennyBruceSceneDaily.com. Yeah, for Rick, have you guys heard anything about a schedule for next year, and has that been a concern for you, trying to look down the road and get prepared?
Yeah, it is somewhat of a concern for multiple reasons. They are talking maybe another 10 days. Once NASCAR releases their schedule, they don't want to make changes going into the next season, and they have some unsigned contracts they're trying to get done. Their goal, they're still trying to get to 25 races. We know that there's 22. There's 22 that I have down that I'm pretty sure are in the books. I don't know what the other 3, or even if there will be 3 more. It is somewhat of a concern because we've got some contracts already in place that have to do with cars and trucks, and a lot of that depends on the truck schedule because some optional races, which we're even going to talk to Denny about some optional races next year.
I'm in.
And and that timing will be based off of off weekends when the trucks are, when we're at a conjunction Cup race. So we need to schedule pretty quick, but it'll come when it comes.
Other questions? Go ahead, Mike.
One more for you, Denny. You got a couple of these clocks now. Who gets the clock this time?
I guess I'll keep it. It never gets old. I'll just collect them.
Should never be late for anything. Got 3 clocks.
Well, that's
that was a joke.
People who know me know that's not the case.
That's why I said that. Any other questions? Okay, guys, congratulations, Denny. Thanks for putting on a good show. Good luck tomorrow.